Hmm. There we go. It's waiting for my camera to looking for the numbers to come on that's activated. Again, my camera's a little slow, as you can see. As I move, it has a hard time catching up with me. I've kind of got a headache today. It's so bizarre. I woke up with this terrible headache, and I also want to talk about um, a small clip I seen on Facebook. This lady was showing her backyard, and she was talking about all the birds. Um, she used to have lots of birds everywhere. And then all of a sudden, she started noticing less and less birds. And then now there is no birds. There's not even a squirrel or anything. There's like no activity. And she showed it in her backyard. She goes, the most bizarre thing. Does anybody know, how do I bring the birds back? And so, of course, I responded to that video of my experience the last 2 months of how, because I put out these blocks of food, I go through a block of food every month. Because I included budget, so I get like three to four of them at a time when I go, because I know it'll last until the end of the month. But this block that I put up, it's been up for over 2 months, and I just noticed the squirrel this morning. A squirrel sitting down there, munching out on the block, but he's not eating at all because it's like falling down on the ground and stuff. But I was surprised to see a squirrel. I was just sitting there watching it. I was like, well, at least I got this activity. There are still black crows. You can still hear a couple of seagulls going by because I live about 65 miles away from the coast, Oregon coast. So there's seagulls that are over here, usually in the summertime, that, tear up the trash. And a couple of them made a nest up on top of um, one of the light poles at the high school. So when you're doing your walk, you can see them up there. So they made the little home up there. But I haven't really heard them much either. And I usually hear them every morning. It's like they fly by over the house, and then later on, I'll hear them flying back over, like they're returning or something. But yeah, how about you guys? Have you been noticing less and less birds? Like right now, I'm at the park, and I see absolutely no birds anywhere flying around, chirping. No blue jays, no robins. Um, yeah, nothing but bugs. Um, bees. Let's see what else. Dragonflies. Those seem to be all around still, and big numbers actually. But birds, I'm looking out everywhere. And then this clouds. This is August. This is usually like July, going into July and August for Oregon. It's usually like it builds up into August, the first part of August where it gets like to hundreds and 102, 109, 110, or somewhere around the hundreds. It's like it does this major bake before autumn and fall come, to where it starts cooling off and everything all the leaves start falling off, because there's quite a few trees down here at the park to where all the leaves are already falling off the trees. And I was noticing on my way over here that there's like other green trees where their leaves are already turning. It's really quite bizarre. But I just want to record it, observe it, and ask you guys, are you guys having a lack of birds around. Because this is another thing about this that's strange is that, um, especially the bluebirds I've noticed, since I've lived here, is that they'll have they'll start having their babies and stuff, and they'll bring like two or three babies to start feeding on the food block. But that didn't happen this year. I don't even know if it happened last year either. But I noticed that it didn't happen all this year because that food block stayed out there for a good almost 2 months, and it was only getting munched on by the squirrel. I noticed today, maybe yesterday, I noticed a little bit taken out of the top. But that was really surprising. And then, I kind of wake up with this major temple and shoulder stiffness. And I don't know, maybe it has to do with this excitement, the anxiety, of, like, here's an example. When I was 21, almost 22, I think I was 21, almost 22, went into the military, right? I had to go to boot camp. Well, my family dropped me off. No, actually, it was here, and the recruiter took me up to Portland, and it was like from that moment on, because I had to leave with only what I had, right? What I was wearing in my wallet and ID and stuff like that. Because when you go up to Portland, you spend the night in the hotel. You get up in the morning. They pay for your hotel, and then you go to I think it's the Pancake House was what we were next to, and they go in. They're prepared, to feed all these incoming military people, whatever they want, hot cakes, whatever. They have to pay for it. It's all paid for. And then we left and got on a shuttle and went from the shuttle from the hotel to the airport. We checked on a plane, got on a plane. We flew down to San Diego. We got off the plane, got on a bus, and drove to the base. But it was so wild because our bus pulled up. We're like in one of those big school buses, kind of like, or I want to say big city buses, right? We're just packed. And when we pulled up, there was probably like about 8 or 9 other city buses just filled with people unloading. And so it was that, it's going in, it's like leaving, it's like that movie, Leave the World Behind. You have to leave the world. That's what got me thinking. It's like I had to leave my world, my normal world that I was living behind, and go into this new world and this unknowing, not knowing what I have to do, not knowing what boot camp is like, not knowing what's going to be required of me, not knowing what squadron I'm going to, or, from my journey on forward there. So it's like I'm excited for the change, but I don't know. I'm nervous for the unknowing. I hope that makes sense. I know it took me a while to explain that, but that was one of the feelings in my life. Another feeling was after I spent 7.5 years in the military is getting out of the military and transitioning from that lifestyle back into this lifestyle. And I felt the same energy, of the unknowing, where here I have a job now. I just have to go wherever they want me to go, and I have a guaranteed paycheck. I have health insurance. I have everything I want. If I need food, I just go to the cafeteria 3 times a day for my food. I get rent free. I can live on the base. All those things, and then the only thing I have to pay for is my car and car insurance. And then I had to weigh that, but then the catch was that I'd have to re-enlist, but if I re-enlisted that time, I would have had to go on a ship. Here, the 2 tours that I did was The first one was an anti-submarine squadron VP4. Well, it was a P3 Charlie, so they were playing, so it's Airedale. And so we flew island to island. Um, I was in the Gulf, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and the Gulf War. So I wasn't actually involved in the Gulf War. I was in the vicinity of the Gulf War, and our squadron was supplying them with when they needed parts or whatever, because that's what I did. I was an aviation store clerk, which is quite interesting because it's two keys in an X shape with wings on it. Is that interesting? And remember, chi is an X representing two keys. And then to top it off, our emblem for our squadron was skinny dragons. So it was just this green dragon, like a skinny, twirly green dragon. It actually looks like the green dragon that's on iPad Go 2 in the classroom. It looks like that green dragon. So, when I look back on certain things in my life and I see them unfolding today, and then when I looked at looking at Nostradamus' Lost Book of Images for the End Times, it shows Father God in a black robe, and he's got this X over his chest here, and then in gold. And then Lord Jesus, he has Prince Michael's right leg crossing over his staff, because Lord Jesus is standing there. He's got his staff, and Prince Michael makes an X over his staff and him as well. So him and his staff are right here. So it's kind of like saying then there's an X there. I just think it's very fascinating how this world is scripted. And then I guess it was Taylor Swift's one of her videos called Karma, where it shows this book open and it's about ready to close. And it shows her like Alice, or the Wizard of Oz, showing her as Dorothy. But, she's got blonde hair. It kind of looks like Alice. And she's skipping through this road. And on the other page, so on one page, it shows her in this, realm right here where there's flowers and beauty and everything. She's skipping along in sunshine. And then the next page, it shows judgment. It shows these guys with the hoodies, and it's dark, and things are like scary, very scary kind of like thing on the next page. But in Nostradamus' End Time Lost Book of Images, it shows the book being closed, and it shows one guy getting ready to close the book, but I think it's closing of this chapter. And then the next one, it shows the golden age happening, and then this guy holding this book open with no words on it. It's a clear slate, and it's got the golden. I think it's holly branch or something like that. The seal, kind of like the golden seal. So it starts at going into Aquarius, the golden age, and then it shows a clear book. There's nothing written in the book. And that book is like a script. So it's like saying a clean slate, we're starting over. But going back to the weather, it's been cloudy and cool ever since Saturday. Last Saturday, remember, I was telling you about last Saturday. It was like this, and all of a sudden it got really super dark, and it got thunder and lightning. It went on for a long time. And the lightning or the thunder was so loud that it shook everything. I thought, oh my goodness. It was so scary. I was like, whoa, because usually you'd hear it, boom, running through. But this was like, I felt like it was judgment then. I was like, oh my goodness. Uh, but, so I guess that's, what it's going through me right now. I don't know about you guys. It's the excitement and the unknowing, of, because my visions and dreams the last couple of days have been uh, popping in and out of my mind, my consciousness. It's like, okay, the one on October 19, 2020, being at God's feet and going through that. So it's like my mind is going through that whole, from the beginning to the end of that whole experience. In May, I think it was May 18th or 19th of 2020, when I woke up in the bathtub, I'm waking up and going through that whole experience. And where Lord Jesus, when I open up the door, I'm like, hey, and then he's pointing, and I turned around, looked, and he made this wormhole. And so it's like this water in this wormhole. And when I was noticing the Smurfs the other day about the wormhole that they were creating, that water wormhole, I'm like, oh my goodness, the blue, because the bathtub was blue, the walls were blue, everything in there, and the water coming out from this golden lion's head, its mouth, the water's, it just made the whole thing. I'm like, okay, so this, I wonder if, he was telling me to go through it. So I'm like thinking, I wonder if he's showing me that vision to where if from what I can say, if it does appear to walk through that, walk through it. Either that or in that vision, I ended up walking through it. The vision where I was sitting up there somewhere bright, and I think it was on the moon, and I was watching this video or this television of like chaos and protests and everything happening, and then that guy in the green suit come in, and I knew who he was. I was just, hey, and then I started touching his suit. I noticed that in my visions and dreams, I do a lot of touching. Hey, it's like God's feet, with the brass is, the brass color of his feet. I'm just like, oh, or I'm putting my foot right up next to his, so my foot's touching his foot. And I do a lot of, hey, like when I told him, the guy wearing that suit, that kind of like green suit, is kind of like a Batman suit in a way. Because I was like, oh, cool. And I'm poking on him, and I go, oh, do I get a suit like this? And he told me, he goes, no, you're going to have another attire or another outfit maybe. But anyway, I knew what he was saying. No, you're not going to have this. You're going to have something else. I was like, ah. But, and those, of course, I woke up because even in that thing, when he come in and was talking to me, we're talking about it, he was looking at the TV and he goes, so you're watching the event? I said, I see the event. That's crazy or something. I said to that fact. But anyway, I ended up waking up. There was also, back in 2012, I had a vision where I was actually in this ship. It was so interesting because I had my two dogs with me, my two pets. And next thing you know, I'm sitting in this big saucer disc, and there's like this big round console in the middle, and there's all these different beings that, people, they're humanoid, but they just had different features about them around this table. And I was hugging my dog, and I'm sitting on that couch, and I'm like, I literally was scared. I didn't know what was going on. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, because I've got the dogs all squeezed up. I'm like, what is going on here? Where am I? Who are these people? And as I'm asking these questions in my mind, one of the guys um, turns his head and looks at me, and he's like, "You're on a ship. You want to see where you're at right now? Get up and go walk over to the door." And I look to my side, and there's just like this big opening in this platform. And so I put the dogs down, and I walk over there, and I'm looking out. Well, we were actually on the ground, and all around the sky is like darkened. It's got red in it. Um, there's all kinds of firing going back, and ships going, other saucers going down, and it's like there's this battle going on. And I turned around and looked, and I was like, "What's going on?" And they're like, I go, "We got to get out of here." It's like, as I'm thinking about this, looking like I'm not understanding what is all this, they're reading, everybody on that panel that's behind me around that thing can hear my thoughts. They're like, I hear, don't worry, we'll be up in a jiffy. We're almost done with it. Just go ahead and have a seat back there, and we'll be out of here in no time." And I'm like, okay. So I go and I sit back down with my dogs. I'm watching it. And they were just, all these, there's on the side computers. I mean, they were just, I felt like I was on Star Trek or something on the on the captain's deck or whatever. But it was just laid out differently. And then, the saucer, somehow I'm outside of my apartment, and I'm looking up, and I got my dogs with me, and I'm looking up at them, and I put the dogs down and waving at them like, "Bye." And, I was all happy about something. I don't know. I was waving at them, and they're announcing, there's two of them. There's a bigger saucer and a smaller, like, saucer, and they're sort of floating, going over, right? And they're announcing something on a loudspeaker, and as they're going over, as through the valley, and they're just announcing something. I can't quite understand what they're saying, but I just waved them off, and then I woke up in bed. I was like, that was so real, so exciting. Was I really there? That kind of thing. I had to be really there. That was too intense. That was too what do you call it, detailed. Then I can go back to my childhood and stuff like that, of trying to, or what I was doing. I remember telling my mom, she told me not to say anything. She goes, "People think you're crazy or something," back then, because they didn't, even to this day, they think dreams and visions are not real. So I used to fly a lot as a child, up until, of a certain age. I would take off with these other human-like beings, but they were darker blue skin, and there was this woman. She was, of course, I was, a small child, but she was, bigger and everything, and she was so nice. But I remember wearing this like blue dress, and she was like a mother figure. It was so interesting to all of us. And we go flying through the whole valley up above, and that's how it's so interesting, because when I ran away from my mom's house, because my stepdad was beating on us, to my grandmother's house, I knew in my mind how to cross the property from the back way. I've never been that way either, but I knew how to get there. And even when I got to my grandmother's house through the back way, she goes, "How did you even know that? How did you even know to get over here? How did you even know where to go through the woods?" My mother did the same thing. "How did you even know?" I was like, "I just knew." And then I told her about, I used to fly back and forth over up above and see this. and see how to get from our house to grandma's house and the distance and where. And I said from a different view. And, then they look at me like, mm-hmm. But it's kind of interesting now when I look back. And that's why it's good that that I went and remembered those visions and dreams, even as far back as when I was super young, uh, and not blocked it out like my family kept saying, block that out. You don't need to remember that and all this stuff. But it does. It adds up to where I'm at today, and how things have built up all through time, and my relationship with my spirit family, or my subconscious mind, because I'm still learning. It's like I was saying, I may have these images coming out all over my body, but I am still learning. I don't even know fully what it means. But, I'm not complaining, because who else does? Nobody else is showing any of this. So, there's got to be a reason. Like I was saying last night in my prayers, there's got to be a reason why I have all these images coming out of my hair. And since it's coming out of my hair and my skin, it's like it's and then my veins, noticing my veins are making images, I'm like thinking this is like down to my DNA level, because our DNA is what creates our looks, our features, designs our body. It's like the code for our body. That's why they use DNA to clone people, because it's an image, a direct image of them. So, that's another thing that got me thinking, wondering if my DNA had been somehow altered. Because remember, I told you on October 19, 2020, at the very last of that vision, when God pulled me into him, I lit up like this golden light. I was so in love. I didn't want to. I was literally going, this feels great. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever, when you're in a suntan bed, sometimes a suntan bed can just feel so relaxing, so, just enjoyable. At least for me, I find it that way. That's why I used to do it a lot. I haven't done it in a long time, because when it's summertime, I like to just get the natural sun. But in the wintertime, I'll go down there every once in a while and get that energy feeling or whatever. But anyway, I'm just rambling on here. So I hope you guys have a fabulous day. It's Thursday. And hang in there, because I really don't know what's going on with our weather, with the animal kingdom, but I know that there's got to be some type of change. And then there's that, DNC thing. And did you know that Obama did the same thing Prince Charles did? So Prince Charles reveals his photo, right? Well, I only seen part of it because somebody else put it on Facebook saying, because when they pulled it down, they showed Kamala Harris as the Green Witch, right, in the photo instead. And so I go, did he just do a Prince Charles in the comments? And the guy goes, yeah, he did. So I've got to look online, but someone had did a portrait of him just the same size. So it's like he considers himself a king. Isn't that interesting? I mean, think how far someone's ego must go, or at a DNC, Democratic Convention, that isn't for him, it's for Harris is who it was for, and he reveals this big portrait of himself, which I'm going to look up and check out. Have a great day. Happy Thursday.